Hi everyone, Tom Loria here. Welcome back to the shop. Today is going to be just a little quick video about making a jig that will hopefully make some of the aspects of your rigging life a lot easier. It has to do with what do you do with the extra line after you've belayed on the pin. So this is a little jig I made. It's very simple, very low tech. If you have a piece of scrap wood, some straight pins, and a drill bit, and get yourself one of these if you don't have them. It's just an Ellipse Master template. You can make one of these jigs and it will simplify the way you need to deal with hanked coils of rope as they add up multitudinously on your model. So you'll see it here on this little mock-up that I have as we progress. Right now I've got nothing on it except these two lines, and the way a lot of guys belay the pins is they just tie it off, put a half hitch on it, cut the end off, and that's the end of the tune. This will hopefully get it to the point where it looks a little bit more realistic for you. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's get started here. So I'm going to try and do this in real time. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll give it a try. So here I have almost everything I need. So I've got my piece of scrap wood, and I've got an ellipse, thanks to my Ellipse Master. I've got my ellipse laid out, and now I'm just going to drill a series of holes. And I'm not going to space them out any specific way. The only thing I will do is, I don't know if you can see on the pad, but I do have a line going up through the center. And what I'll do is at both ends, I'll leave the center unobstructed. I won't put a pin there. But aside from that, there's no pattern to this. The more pins you use, the smoother your rope coil will be. The fewer, the more lumpy it'll look. So here we go. I'm going to make some noise. Okay, those are the holes drilled. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make two little saw curves, and that's to hold the line. You can see in this one right here, I've got the line being held in place by those saw curves, and not too well, I might add. But we'll see if we can do a better job here. So I've got one made already, and one I'll make over here. Okay. And I'm using pins that are about 25 thousandths of an inch thick. And since this is for a rather small rope hank, I'm not using a whole lot of pins. Doesn't really need it. And you are going to want to have some room between the pins to manipulate a pair of tweezers or something else. And what I also find helpful is making them all the same height. So I just take a piece of scrap wood of any height and start nipping off. And it's easier to do it half at a time. Also, if you have the luxury, softwood for this is better than hardwood. It just has to be scrap. It can be any piece. You can see this is a piece of knotty pine, and anything really will do. probably the only unsuitable wood would be balsa. Of course, balsa is pretty much unsuitable for anything involving model ships. So, there, I've said it. And I think I got one more. Now you could even do this, I mean, with pins this strong. 25 thousandths of an inch is a pretty thick pin. And with pins this strong, I could probably do this even without drilling the holes first. I just find that a lot easier. So there, we've got the second half. Let's knock those down. And I am going to take this off camera for 2 seconds to put it. I have a sanding disc over on the flexible shaft tool over there, and I'm going to just smooth off the top of those pins. So I'm going to disappear for a second. Okay, and we're almost finished. We have one more thing to do. We're going to drill 2 more holes. And for this, I'm going to be using a 60 thousandths bit, because that's about what I used over here on that one. And you can see that it's at an angle. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on this camera, but I will get a close-up of it a little bit later on, probably in a still photo. But you'll see that loop is just about the size we want. And it's a 2-step process to get that loop like that. And that's what the 2 holes that I'm about to drill now are for. So, I'm going to drill one almost at the edge, and one considerably closer to the actual. Okay, so we are done. There's our little jig. Now, to actually use this thing, let's see about that. Now, to actually use this thing, the first thing we're going to do is put that 60 thousandths drill bit in the first hole, the one that's farthest away from where we'll actually be working. And let me turn this around this way. And for my little mock model, which is now out of the frame, but which you saw in the introduction, the rigging line used for that was 20 thousandths. And that's what I'm using here, 20 thousandths. And you take about, I don't know, a foot, 15 inches, whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable working with. And you put one end in that saw kerf, hopefully. There we go. Now here's the only tricky part. You are going to come up, if you're looking at it the way I am, this is the top, this is where the loop is going to be. This is the left, this is my right. Okay? This is all going to be done from my point of view. So this is my right, my left. So here we go. I'm going to take the line and I'm going to come up on the outside, on the right hand side of this first pin closest to the top. And remember, there is no pin exactly on the top, so this is the pin on the right hand side. It would be the equivalent of a 1 o'clock position on a clock face. So, and I'm going to come up on the outside of that, on this side, not this side, but this side. And I'm going to wrap it around that pin, but not all the way. and then I wrap it around the drill bit. Then I do the same exact thing on the opposite side, and I do it the same way. I come up on what amounts to being on the inside of that pin. And now I can just go around. That was the tricky part. If you got that down, you got the whole thing down. So now I can just go around and make as many loops as I want. I would say you have a tendency to want to go 6, 8, 10 loops. Don't do it. Don't do it unless it's a piece of rigging on your ship that would normally have that amount of rope. Like let's say, let's say it was a halyard, a topsail halyard, and you had the yard hoisted up, which means down on the deck you'd have a lot of excess line. Then you would put a lot on. Other than that, no, you probably wouldn't want to, only because this is going to be one line of many on a ship that probably has tons of these things. So they're going to add up. So you're going to have to balance scale realism with the reality of your own model. And you're not going to be able to put scale equivalent lengths of rope on that would really be on the ship in full size. So you're going to have to make those decisions as you go. If space is cramped, you want to put less line into these loops, into these hanks. The other thing that I need to tell you is that when you actually rig the line, when you actually run the line around, what you really need to make sure you do is to not twist the line. So, in other words, what I'll do here is I'll take this off. So, what you don't want to do is just sort of run it around like this. What you want to make sure you do is, oh, now I got to put that back. Is as you run the line around, you give it a half twist in the direction that you're coiling the rope in, and what that does is it'll allow the rope to lay flat. It won't kink up as you. So you take it and you twist it over like that. Take it, give it a half twist over so that it lays gently and naturally on top of the previous loop. So you can do it that way. But take it, twist it, and lay it down. So I've got enough there. Let's end that. And I'm just going to wrap it around that one to keep it out of the way. And I'm also going to use that saw curve to hold it. Now, 2 more things to do before we're done. In order to make the loop, that loop that we have right now is way too big. So we have to alter that loop. And we're going to remove the pin, remove the drill bit, and we're going to see if we can get that loop back into our little hank here. There. Great. Now we have a little bit of excess because the loop is now shorter. So we just pull on that and that tightens it up. You'll also notice, or you should be able to notice, hopefully you'll be able to see it, the camera is close enough, that the loop points down. It tilts down. That's kind of important because you're going to want to put it over the belaying pin and you're going to want to have it cascade over the pin rail in a nice natural way. So now the hard part is getting just a touch of CA glue. And you want just a touch because you don't want to discolor it too much. You don't want it to be too noticeable. And you're going to put that right at where the two pieces of the loop meet over the hank of the rod. It's also important to notice that I gave the loop a half twist before relocating it in the new closer pinhole. And you have to do that before you can give the whole thing a coat of white glue, as you'll see next. So, I'm going to make this dirty brownish white, very thin water and glue mix, and I'm going to brush the whole hank. Even the loop itself. Now if you get any excess in there and you fill the hole like that, make sure you blow it out. You don't want any real excess buildup there because that's going to be one of the more visible parts of this. If you manage to get a little too much CA glue and it discolored the line a little bit down here, it's going to be less of an issue because that's going to be draped over. You'll see when it's on the little mock-up of the ship's bulwark over there in about 10 minutes when this is dry. So see you in a bit. Okay, so we're back now. The glue is dried. So let's cut this thing loose and see how we did. So you want to take a very sharp knife, scalpel if you got one, or a very sharp razor blade, and as close to the hank as possible, cut that off, cut it free. And you want to do the same thing on this side. Cut it as close to the hank as you can get. And there you have it. Now we can take this out, and we can finesse this. Off our little jig. Okay. Okay. Now, we've tied our little piece of rigging line off with a half hitch, and what we're going to do now is just install this right on there, and it happens just the way you think it would. Put it over the belaying pin, and then you try and get this to hang as naturally as possible. Looking at it without my cheaters, I think that's probably about as close as we're ever going to come. Let's see if I can get that line to be a bit more natural. Now, if this were a real model, what I might do to keep that in place is touch the bottom or the top of the deck with a little bit of white glue and then push the bottom of the line coil right on it like that to hold it in place. but since this is just a demonstration, and I may want to take that line off for a further video down the line, I'm not going to glue anything, but there you see it. So I hope this little video helped and has given you guys some ideas as to how to handle your rigging problems. And if you have any questions or comments, as always, I'm eager to see what you've got to say, so leave me a comment down below. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Every little bit helps. So until we see you again, take care and thanks for watching.